Video of sorcerers and witches gone wild. We look at how Christians allow their children to be exposed to witchcraft with Harry Potter. We see how that has influenced the church, and also see how Wicca has outgrown the church in the last decade. Again, Ephesians chapter 5 verse 11. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 verse 22. Abstain from every form of evil. If born-again Christians know they should not practice sorcery, then why are their children still exposed to it? That is due to lack of knowledge. Hosea chapter 4 verse 6 says this, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." We will now take a look at how children are exposed to sorcery. Children are exposed to sorcery through literature, like with Harry Potter. Also with movies and TV. Movies such as Harry Potter, Charmed, Wizard of Oz, and even Avengers are example ways children are exposed to sorcery. Video games are another way children are exposed to sorcery. Games such as Final Fantasy and Fortnite are where children can be exposed to sorcery. Also, toys. You combine literature with TV, movies, gaming, and toys, you can see that children are exposed to sorcery 24 hours, 7 days a week. Now, we will look and see how entertainment is used to influence the masses. Entertainment. You can break it down into 3 words. The first word is enter, which means to come in. The second word is tain, that means to possess. And meant in a state of possession. And you put that all together, entertainment. To come and possess and keep in a state of possession. An example of entertainment is a person in theater for nearly 2 hours can have their thoughts change from watching a movie. Many people may not know who Anton LaVey was or is. Anton LaVey was an author and a musician that was a Satanist that started the Church of Satan. This is what he said about the television. Television is a major mainstream infiltration for the new satanic religion. Screens in this country began in the movie theater, and eventually they went into homes such as televisions. Now in the 21st century, we have satellite TV and we have more than 1,000 TV stations. We even have access to screens such as iPhones and smartphones. We live in a day where we have access to more entertainment more than ever.
And the masters of the universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 4 greatest heroes, created from the cosmic...
When I was a child, I visited my grandparents and they would play Wizard of Oz. Now, my grandparents confessed to be born again Christians. With seeing Wizard of Oz at their house, we saw witches. We saw an evil witch and a good witch. When I was young, I thought nothing of it, and neither did my parents. Later on, it was He-Man, and you could see that show was full of all kind of dark things. Sorcery was a definitely strong influence of it. Also, fast forward just a bit, you look at Superman and Friends, a modern form of Greek mythology that presents humans as godlike. And then later on, it was Star Wars. Star Wars is filled with sorcery and evil. Star Wars is an influence of Hinduism.
Witches and wizards in the Potterverse, they are morally neutral. You are as good or as bad as you decide to be. There's nothing inherently wrong about performing magic.
I think what I'm hoping people will take away from the exhibition is that there's this huge, rich historical history of magic.
I understand that J.K. Rowling knew a huge amount about sort of the mythology, the folklore, and the science and the magic behind the stories.
I have a lot of fun with divination in the Potter books because I make it quite clear that you get lucky once every million times.
We've got books about palmistry and tea leaf reading and some kind of practical equipment that you could use for those things. I think one of the things I learned about witches is that they get a really bad rep.
Now, throughout this presentation, you probably see a glimpse of this, and I really want to focus on this right here. Harry Potter. Hosea chapter 4 verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because you have rejected knowledge. I reject you from being a priest to me, and since you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children. Exodus chapter 22 verse 18. You shall not permit a sorceress to live. Deuteronomy chapter 18 verses 10 through 12. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering, anyone who practices divination or tells fortunes or interprets omens, or a sorcerer, or a charmer, or a medium, or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead, for it does these things is an abomination to the Lord, and because of these abominations, the Lord your God is driving them out before you. Isaiah chapter 8 verse 19. And when they say to you, inquire of the mediums and the necromancers who chirp and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God? Should they inquire of the dead on behalf of the living? Isaiah chapter 5 verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Its influence. There's no doubt that when it comes to sorcery, that Harry Potter is the face of it. Take a look at its worldwide influence. The estimated value of the franchise is around $25 billion. And 500 million books were sold globally. And the movies that they have produced in the box office have produced an estimated $7.7 billion. So these numbers give us an idea on how influential Harry Potter has become. So, how does Harry Potter affect the church? With Harry Potter and the church, I think there's a correlation with it, definitely. Since 2018, when the Gallup poll started in 1937, church attendance was at 73%. In 2019, it was 47%. And remember, I think the Harry Potter franchise started around the mid-2000s, so that's something to keep in mind. That means the millennials, the Harry Potter generation of the church, is at 36%. With the church dying, do you know what the fastest growing religion in America is? You might be surprised that it is paganism / Wicca / witchcraft. The growth of Wicca between 1990 to 2000 went from 8,000 to 134,000 according to U.S. Census Bureau. By 2012, Wicca was on the pace to be the third largest religion in America. Compare the growth of Wicca with the decline of the church gives us an idea how influential Harry Potter has been within the church. Again, look at the church numbers according to Gallup survey. In 2019, it was at 47%, and the millennials of the Harry Potter generation at 36%. So the church numbers have been going down since the explosion of Harry Potter. What should we conclude with number of those attending church versus those practicing witchcraft? Church attendance continues to decline, while practice of witchcraft increases. First Timothy chapter 4 verses 1 and 2. Now the Spirit expressly says that in latter times some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to deceitful spirits and teaching of demons, through the insincerity of liars whose consciences are seared. What is Wicca? Basically, Wicca is a modern form of witchcraft. As you can see, there are headlines of crimes influenced by witchcraft being done. You can see it's being done throughout big cities like Los Angeles and Chicago. It even got to the point to even where People magazine has covered the crimes of witchcraft.
Pennsylvania woman says she has killed at least 22 people from Alaska to North Carolina in the last 6 years as part of her involvement in a satanic cult.
With these two slides, we'll take a look at the satanic control media and seeing how they groom children with witchcraft. Harry Potter starts at elementary school. It books written for children of that age because all the characters. And then eventually elementary students will become middle and high school. Major networks does know this, and so they'll release Twilight that's about teenage vampires. So you have from elementary to high school where children are exposed to sorcery and witchcraft. And then when they become adults, they could catch Charm, that is about witches and sorcery. So from elementary all the way up to adulthood, networks have influenced people with witchcraft and sorcery. Another example of that is Disney. Disney has been in the business of sorcery and witchcraft for a long time. In the early 1990s, they had a movie called Hocus Pocus that was about 3 witches. And now they're releasing a second one because they want to continue to influence children and family with sorcery and witchcraft. And in the next slide, you're going to take a look and see how the creators of Harry Potter has used the book specifically to influence children on divination and sorcery.
Traditional negative view of witches that you get in a lot of books of the time. Well, I think the Harry Potter books have done a lot to change that. I think trying to think about magic as something that can be used for good in the books.
I have a lot of fun with divination in the Potter books.
Huge, rich historical history of magic and folklore that kind of lies behind the Harry Potter books, and that a lot of things that they might have thought were imaginary are actually based on fact.
And the magic behind the stories that she incorporated very lightly into her stories, which gave them a huge amount layers of depth and interest.
I think one of the things I learned about witches is that they get a really bad rep through history, and that it's quite hard to find positive accounts of them.
Hosea chapter 4 verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because you have rejected knowledge. I reject you from being a priest to me. And since you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children. Second Thessalonians chapter 2 verses 9 through 12. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wicked deception for those who are perishing, because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Therefore God sends them a strong delusion, so that they may believe what is false, in order that they all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. Deuteronomy chapter 18 verses 10 to 14. There shall not be found among you anyone who burns his son or his daughter as an offering, anyone who practices divination or tells fortune or interprets omens, or a sorcerer or a charmer or a medium or a necromancer, or one who inquires of the dead. For whoever does these things is abomination to the Lord. Because of these abominations, the Lord your God is driving them out before you. You shall be blameless before the Lord your God for those nations which you are about to dispose. Listen to fortune tellers and not to diviners. But as for you, the Lord your God has not allowed you to do this. First Timothy chapter 4 verses 1 and 2. Now the Spirit expressly says that in latter times some will depart from the faith by devoting themselves to deceitful spirits and teaching of demons, through the insincerity of liars whose consciences are seared. Matthew chapter 18 verses 5 and 6. Jesus says, "Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it will be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife, jealousy, fits of anger, rivalries, dissensions, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. I warn you, as I warned you before, that those who do such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Revelation chapter 21 verse 8. But as for the cowardly, the faithless, the detestable, as for murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars, their portion will be in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death.